Hello folks, and welcome to the second episode of the HS Tech Channel OfficeVision special. In this video we're going to take a look at sending and receiving notes to other systems that do not run OfficeVision. Now of course I can show sending and receiving notes to another system that runs OfficeVision all day long, but that's relatively boring because it works exactly how you'd expect. You punch in the remote system name and the remote username and type out your note, hit enter, boom, there it is. Extremely easy, extremely boring. But I want to step up the difficulty curve a bit. We're going to look at a VMS system connected to the VM system via NJE, and then a Unix system connected to the VM system using SMTP, or I guess you could say TCP/IP. We're going to take a look at how OfficeVision can handle these protocols, and more importantly, how it cannot, which you'll sort of see as we go through this. So let's go ahead and start by surveying the landscape here. So we have our BSD machine. This is just a modern free BSD. Then we have a VMS system. This right here is just the latest VMS running on a good old-fashioned VAX. And look at that, we have 123 days of uptime. So let's go ahead and start sending some notes here, shall we? So we'll do it the same way we've been doing it. And here's what the remote system name format looks like. That's for an NJE host. Now there's about 4 other ways you can enter it. Noticeably absent is that does not work. That's what you'd use with the CMS note, tell, or send file commands. That's not going to work here. It's hard to type this microphone away. Okay, let's go ahead and send it. And we should hear that sound effect right there. That Windows sound was the beautiful reminder that we actually do in fact have a functional networking system here. Alright, of course when we back out of this menu we're going to get the screen to refresh and we'll see the alert that we sent the file. So you can see that we see from the VAX server, which is exactly what it sounds like, VMS 7.3, we'll see that we got a file. Perfect. Oh yeah, and if we do this command here, we'll see we're connected via TCP and JE. Alright, let's go ahead and receive our mail and see what we got. Well, look at that. Now, you may notice that the to and from addresses are relatively different. Well, what I mean by that is the from address here versus the to address versus the from address here are all totally different. That's because JNet here will basically proxy the mails that it gets in, the notes, and convert them into a format that the VMS mail client can expect to be able to read, because OfficeVision notes may or may not be compressed. In this case, this one actually was sent compressed, and may or may not actually be human readable. So we can actually reply to this. Control Z when complete. There we go. And of course we get the typical reminders from JNet that everything worked. We can see here that, well, these actually came in backwards order. This is the first message, is that the file was sent and then that it was received. And if we switch back over to VM, you can see here that, ooh, we have a file spooled to us. How wonderful. So we'll go ahead and hit F2, and here it is. You can see here that the original to and the to have clearly been proxied by something, and that is of course JNet doing its thing. And then we can actually reply to this as well. Oh, don't want that because I'll break the editor. And then when we go ahead and send that off, we'll get the dings. Maybe. And well, we at least got that one. Oh, there we go. There's VMS dinging at us. And when we hit enter, we'll go ahead and see it right here. And then when we strike it again, there you go. You have to restart the mail client in order to get new mail. That's obviously a bug. But you can see that it sort of maps it into an SMTP email. And we'll see more of that in a bit. Okay, so let's step up the difficulty curve a bit and fire off some SMTP emails. So we'll send a note to this machine here. and this is just a classic Pentium 3 running the latest BSD. Okay, and then when we send it, we should see more notifications than we normally get, but we'll get different ones. So you can see here that the SMTP service machine that's running has received a file, and then it's been delivered. And it doesn't say delivered until the other SMTP server on the other end of the machine, or whatever it is that you're talking to, acknowledges the request. So let's flip over to our BSD machine and run our good old-fashioned mail command. And you can see here that we do in fact have a mail. Okay, so we can reply to this, and of course the to is always going to include yourself for some reason. Yeah, just type that. We'll say that we got a new mail here, by the way, and it's just the reply, because that's how this works. And if we go and take a look at this, we can open the mail, and there it is. Oh yeah, of course we get a humongous amount of filler text, but well, you know what, they gotta make it worth our while. Scroll down, there it is. A whole page worth of stuff. And you can see that the VM SMTP server does actually support eSMTP, surprisingly enough. Okay, now of course we can also send an SMTP email to this VMS system via SMTP, so let's do that as well, because why not? Oh man, this microphone's such in the way. Alright, so we got our file sent, and it's going to take a while to receive, because that VMS, there we go, it just received. The VMS SMTP server is a little bit slower than the BSD one. Alright, well, we've got our new mail. And of course we get the classic SMTP banner format, and if you want to actually send a new note to SMTP or in JE hosts using the mail command, you can punch it in directly with like the actual internet address format, or you can punch it in like this. And of course, if you want to send it via profs, you do this the same way. You do profs %, user at host, close quote. And there we go. Looks great. Okay, so what about a few other interesting things we can try? Well, as I mentioned, this BSD machine does actually have NJE. Unfortunately, the link is actually down, and I do not actually have the authorization to start it. But of course I do. I mean, why wouldn't I? It's my machine, so let's go ahead and start that up. Alright, we got that up. I can't retrieve. So let's just see what happens now. My DIY NJE stack for Unix is a bit clunky. It's a modified version of JNet, which, no, sorry, not JNet, ThuNet NJE, the one that everyone runs. There's a few forks of it on GitHub. You can find Moshix's fabulous Unix NJE, which is probably the most up-to-date version, but the one I've got's got a few more features. And unfortunately, we have yet to actually create ourselves a directory to do this, so we're going to take a look at that now. I suppose we can just quickly create ourselves a directory here. So we have no files, so let's start sending some files. Alright, let's fire it off. We do actually end up sending the file, and it is there, so we can actually receive it. And ID's 1. And you can start to see the problem with profs notes and OfficeVision notes in general. They are full of control sequences that are not actually human readable, Of course, if you peek them with Xedit on VM, you won't get this messy of a dialogue, but if you do peek them, it also hides control characters, and there's plenty of those in here, so this really isn't gonna be a very pleasant user experience here. So that's out of the question, but we can still send and receive normal notes, just like you would expect with the note command. Works great, but that is it. That is OfficeVision email support through two different protocols, NJE and SMTP. Unfortunately, it does not support DECnet, but JNet can actually proxy that for you if you configure it correctly with its very obtuse configuration files. But I think that's going to wrap this up. In the next video, we're going to take a look at some administration. And I'm also going to make a video on just NJE in general, and what NJE is, how it works, and all that good stuff. Thank you for your patience and observation.